Boruto, even though it's the new saga of the Naruto universe, a whole lot of new characters introduced, we always see the old cast, but there's some stuff in here that relates and is so identical from Gen 1 Naruto that I feel like in this episode today, and just even looking at next week's preview, there are some hints of here or there that was Naruto, Gen 1. And I was really happy about it. I'm glad there are a little bit of Easter eggs in today's episode. But either way, let's jump right into it. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Ranger Flame, and welcome everyone to Boruto Naruto Next Generation's episode 57. Today, we focus on stage 2 of the exams, which is Capture the Flag. We have 8 teams that remain. 4 of them move on, which means half of them will be disqualified. And for today's episode, like I said, this relates always to the movie, and there's some parts here or there that are going to be different that we haven't seen in the movie. Like, for one thing I want to talk about in the stage 2 exams that they had to go for right here for Capture the Flag. In Boruto, the anime, we got introduced into some characters that we didn't know about, which was Denki's group with him, Iwabe, and Metal Lee, which we knew about Metal Lee, but I'll get to that more. And then, of course, the class rep, Wasabi, and that other girl that does the tiered jutsu. And we see them of who's going to be versing who for the second round, for the Capture the Flag, which was the class rep team versus, the Hidden Cloud team, which absolutely dominates them. The jutsu that one of them, which we know, which actually wears the 8 tails, I guess, necklace or symbol around him, defeats them in a flash, uses his gum jutsu. They're defeated. They really stand no chance against them, because I feel like it's not just Shinki, Gaara's son, that's the rival of Boruto. I feel like this guy is definitely a really big rival to Boruto, which we will see in next week's episode. So it was a cool fight between them. It wasn't really long. I would say about 30 seconds that we got footage of that. So we see of that they didn't even make it to the final round. We see a little bit. So this is a part that was actually in the movie that we actually got introduced to Metal Lee's character, or Rock Lee's son, which was him versus Shinki. And this was the big Easter egg that I was talking about in today's review. It was a really big point of Lee versus Gaara back in the day for Gen 1. And I really thought that was interesting, because there are some spots here or there that will really compare to, Naruto Shippuden or Naruto. And just watching Shinki versus Metal Lee, I loved it so much, because it was a throwback to Gaara versus Rock Lee. And that was hands down, probably definitely the top 3 fights in Naruto history. If you haven't seen the Gaara versus Rock Lee in Gen 1 Naruto, I highly suggest you go watch that. And it was a really big opposite, because that was, I guess you look at it as, it was mostly the 3rd round, because the paper that they had to do for Gen 1, and the Force of Death, and then afterwards the fight leading to, the big fight. So I guess it was stage 3, but it kind of was a stage 2 if you looked at it as well. So similarities, the stages, Metal Lee trying not to give up, just like what Rock Lee did against Gaara. So it really was a big comparison to, who is stronger, and just them being the sons of, the old gens. So I thought that was a really cool Easter egg, to be honest with you. I feel like that was probably the best one in Boruto that we have yet in the series, in my own personal opinion. Just seeing them fight was just a throwback, and just childhood in general, and really shows of the new next gen, even though it's kind of similarities. You kind of get my point. The next fight that we get, which was Shikadai and theirs group, doesn't really take that long. Was probably maybe, I would say, 10 to 15 seconds. They move on. They pass really easy. And then we get Boruto, Team 7 versus the triplets of the Hidden Mist Village. And this is a really big team. They're brothers, they're related, they have really good teamwork. And this is the part where Boruto really changes as a character. See this part of the episode, which, he always goes to the scientist guy. He always thought that he always, cared for him, not like Naruto. And he gave them this scientific ninja tool, which doesn't really use your chakra whatsoever. It comes in scrolls, and you could use it, and it could generate really powerful attacks, which we actually see from Boruto using in today's episode. So when people look at it, they could look at Boruto being selfish right here, him just wanting to win and move on to the finals or the 3rd round. But the big similarity that you have to look at in today's episode is, I've said this in a couple of my reviews, and you could really relate this to real life, is a son trying to, praise his father, or his father to look up onto you. He wasn't just thinking of himself, becoming a Chunin. It's also, if he passed through the rounds right here, he knew that, Naruto would have to look at this. He would know that his son passed the 2nd stage and is moving on to the finals, where all the Kage and everyone in the Hidden Leaf village or just all over the ninja world will come to this event and watch, them compete. So while looking at this and while using his ninja tool, he was thinking of mostly of his father, that if he passes this right now, Naruto will give him praise. So it was there for most of his childhood, but when you look at it, when he became the Hokage, he started to focus a lot on the village and not his family. And that's what kind of why Boruto hates him, because he has this wonderful family at home, but he rarely comes home and he doesn't pay any attention to them. So this is a really big step to Boruto's character, that he could finally, slap his father in the face and be like, hey, I am here and I am a good ninja, and this is my proof to you of what I'm made of. And we see that in today's episode of Naruto actually being happy and actually praising Boruto. And a big part of today's episode is him coming home afterwards and, in person. He's always had shadow clones, including when Himawari had her birthday. Naruto sent a shadow clone, and that was a really dark and, terrible thing that Naruto did. But it was such a big thing for Boruto's life, because afterwards, even though he did cheat and he doesn't want anybody to know, he got so much praise from his father. And this is kind of a first time in his life, or, a long time waited, that he finally got appreciation of his dad, of him coming this far, of being a ninja, and mostly becoming a Chunin here soon. So even though you could look at today's episode of him using that scientific ninja tool as a selfish thing, he really wanted to do it to praise his father and for him being a great ninja. So that was the big step in Boruto's I guess dream, or for his father's approval. We will get more going into the third or final exams, more into Boruto, which is going to be really good. The fights in here, I'm really excited, because like I said, this is the anime. They're going to be doing different stuff right here. And last week's, or next week's episode here, sorry, we're going to get someone fighting her. So that's going to be really awesome. And the Chunin exam, I think they're doing a good job. If you look towards compared to the movie and today's episode, I would say not really a lot changed. We just seen, Shinki, or, the Hidden Sand Village, take down Denki's group, which is a new thing. Community, learning about their characters at the start of Boruto to, them getting eliminated, which is a big part if you watch the movie. Samir, the class reps group, versus, the Hidden Cloud team. So that was kind of the new stuff that we got. The triplets of the Hidden Mist, we actually seen that in the movie, so that was taken from the movie. I don't really think nothing has really changed at all, if I can compare it, or if I remember on the top of my head. Their fight scene was the exact same as the movie. One big thing before I get this episode of rating and before I end the episode review here today, I want to see a little bit of, I guess it's another Easter egg if you looked at it. I think I talked about it in my last week's review of the Hidden Sand team literally being the exact same as, old gen Naruto, of Gaara, Temari, and Kankuro. And it's a really big vibe of the Hidden Sand team there, as, Shinki's jutsu in this anime, or just, him in general using his power, is exactly like Gaara's. Him versus Denki or Iwabe, he didn't have to move a muscle whatsoever. It was mostly just that sand or the coat, or I'm pretty sure it's just like black sand. I have no idea what that jutsu is whatsoever. Mostly his fighting was towards Gaara's style. And also, what I'm just talking about their group as well is, for next week's review right here, we actually get Shikadai versus the girl, which kind of looks like Temari from the Hidden Sand. And if you watch Gen 1 Naruto, you know exactly what I'm talking about, of Shikamaru versus Tomorrow in the finals, and we're going to get that same vibe for the next generations right here. But all in all, I thought today was a great episode. Like I said, there were some stuff that weren't part of the movie in this, but mostly a lot of it was, and I understood it. But I was still glad to kind of get a refresh here again. But with this episode here today, guys, I feel like I'm just going to give it a 6.5 out of 10. I feel like that's a really low rating, but knowing me, and probably a lot of you as well, if you watch the movie, you watch the same thing over and over again. It's just those bits and pieces that we haven't seen that were put because this is the anime, this is the TV show. But if you guys enjoyed my review here today, make sure you guys to leave a like, comment down below what your favorite part of today's episode was, and subscribe to the channel. That'd be greatly appreciated. But either way, we'll see you guys next week for another Boruto Naruto Next Generations review.